Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The single best idea, and we'll have Nicholas Burns with us here in a moment, with his public service as ambassador to China. What a great moment here today to have Nick Burns for a long conversation. Before that, on the moment at hand, which is asset allocation amid our political, economic, investment chaos and uncertainty, Steve Chiavarone is with Federated Hermes. He writes brilliant, short, terse pieces. His summary is simple. Get back into the U.S., get back into tech, be optimistic, the worst is over. Here's Steve Chiavarone on all the manufactured derivative products of the moment.
For very specific client needs, whether it's enhancing income or you've got real risk aversion, derivatives can play a role over the long run in terms of building sustainable, quiet wealth, if you will. The story is about staying invested. I mean, everything around that is just behavioral. It's about staying invested. So the question is, how do you understand the client? How do you understand what their risk tolerance is, and then build them a long-term asset allocation? And then be tactical enough, Tom, that you don't whipsaw your way out of returns, but you provide the client with enough comfort to say, okay, we're not just sitting here blindly. Because at the end of the day, the story is really simple. Just because it's difficult doesn't mean that it's complicated. Investing is difficult because it's hard to stay invested. It's hard to stay unemotional. But it's not nearly as complicated as we make it out to be. That's just us making ourselves feel better that it's hard.
Like many of our world-class guests, there's a point where the voice changes. There was the intense Steve Chiavarone. Really, really something there on all these fancy made-up products today. No bones about it. I'm very much against them. I just think it's people trying to meet the fear that's out there, the sum of all our fears, by hedging away any potential gain to get some form of guaranteed income stream. A little bit of complexity there. Steve Chiavarone, just magical. Nick Burns came out of Wellesley, Massachusetts. And, for example, today we talked to him about his first job in a small African town for the State Department. It has turned into an esteemed career as truly one of our great diplomats. A tour of duty in China as ambassador. We opened talking about how on the weekends he'd get on the high-speed train and go deep into China, where very few Americans go. Very constructive comments about the people of China. Here, Nick Burns with constructive comments on our State Department.
That you can believe that young people who join, and middle-aged people, the federal government, are nonpartisan. We take an oath to be nonpartisan. It's actually a law, the Hatch Act of 1952. And I served Republican presidents and Democratic presidents. I never asked any of my colleagues, hey, what party do you belong to? Because it would have been really inappropriate to do that. And what bothers me about the mass firing of our civil servants in Washington is that there's somehow this suspicion that they're all Democrats and progressives, which is absolutely not the case. People just want to serve the country. So I do think respectfully, Secretary Rubio and President Trump, they've really weakened the ability of the United States to put good people in the field on the military side and the civilian side.
Nick Burns, of course, a former ambassador to China. Across the nation on your commute, thank you so much for starting your morning with us, particularly the early morning of the left coast. On YouTube, growing each and every day, just absolutely humbled by the growth of Bloomberg Podcast. Shout out, thank you, Tracy Alloway, Joe Weisenthal, for their commitment there with Outlaws. And Barry Ritholtz out with that wonderful new book on how not to invest, adding a lot of value at Bloomberg Podcasts as well. On YouTube and on YouTube Podcasts, this is Single Best Idea.